Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the TWC Show. Very close to episode 100. We're getting there, and I'm working on getting Devin back for that. But before we get into today's show, which is all about AEW's Double or Nothing tomorrow, I just want to let you guys know that I do plan on moving forward on. Whoa, I just burped. Excuse me. I do plan on dropping the show every Sunday. But when there is a pay-per-view on Sundays, I will be dropping the show on Saturdays. So just kind of get used to that schedule. So every Sunday, the show's going to drop. But when there's a pay-per-view on a Sunday, so on a pay-per-view week, the show will drop on Saturday so we can give you guys our predictions. I also just want to thank everybody that signed up to the Patreon and participating and being engaging. I really appreciate it. Robbie's been dropping out exclusives of what figures are coming out soon. He gets all the news ahead of time. So if you are one of those people that loves to collect WWE figures or AEW figures, he gets the inside scoop. He gets them first. You can get exclusive discounts by signing up to our Patreon. And then you get these episodes, the TWC Show in video form. You get all my interviews early. My interview with Steve Cardillo of Cardillo Weight Belts, which will be dropping later this week, is already available for Patreon users to listen to or to watch. So guys, sign up to the Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/The Wrestling Classic. It's ran by me and Rain City Toys, and it's some good shit, man. There's a lot of good shit there. And we're going to work on doing more exclusive merchandise. You get discounts on TWC merchandise from TWCshop.com as well. And also, we're going to try getting these watch-alongs and stuff together, too. And you get our monthly exclusive podcast, which is literally no fucks given. No, we don't hold back on anything. We talk about wrestling, we talk about life, and it's not your most politically correct podcast. So if you want to hear the real deal, you have to sign up to the Patreon because it's nowhere else. So guys, go check that out. www.patreon.com/The Wrestling Classic. I really do appreciate all the support. And I'll give shout outs to everyone that signs up on this show every week. So when you get some more new signups, I will do that. And I'm going to wait till we get some more. Because we had a couple, but I'm going to wait till we get some more and I'll do a whole shout out thing. Other than that, big shout out to Maestro Classic, sponsors to the show. Been sponsoring the Wrestling Classic TWC show for years now, I want to say. I think since like 2019. When was it? Episode 100. They are the premier brand for beard care and now hair care, guys. I know I usually put an ad in this show that you might listen or hear if you're listening to this show, but I just want to let you guys know they're also in hair care now too. So they got pomades, they got hair gel, they got the stuff for you to do your hair with. So check them out. Maestrosclassic.com. You can get your beard care stuff, your beard oil, your beard washes, all that stuff to take care of your beard. Can't even talk. You can get all your hair products, whether it's pomade, gel, or whatever you want to use for your hair. And you can also get some really cool merchandise, whether it's tank tops, t-shirts, hoodies, hats. It's almost summertime. I rock their tank tops all the time during the summer. Great to sleep in. They're comfortable, great to work out, and great to just wear regularly. You see the wrestlers wearing them all the time. Maestro's Classic. If you guys saw the logo, you're like, oh shit, because they are the groomers and the main barbers for the WWE superstars. They're backstage every Raw and SmackDown, making sure everybody looks great, even NXT and pay-per-view. So Maestro Classic, big shout out to them. Now, for the Double or Nothing predictions, I'm bringing back one of AEW's bigger fans, someone that I really wanted on this show specifically because I know he's a big fan of AEW. We're both kind of marking out about how good Dynamite was last night. And it's none other than Vikram Prashar from Wrestling with Awareness. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me on. It's been a little while. I'm really excited for Double or Nothing on Sunday. And yeah, I was all Dynamite this week definitely made me a lot more excited for the pay-per-view too. So thanks for having me on. I have to agree.
So I did predictions on that wrestling show for THS Wrestling on Sunday with Neeson and Emily. And you guys can check that out on that hashtag show's YouTube channel. And when we were doing the predictions then, there were a lot of matches that I felt were like just thrown together and I wasn't that excited for. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not feeling this match. Like, I don't know how I feel about Brian Cage and Hangman. I don't know how I feel about Lance Archer and Miro. Kenny Omega versus Pac would have been dope, but Kenny Omega versus Pac and Orange Cassidy, like, I don't know how I feel about that. After this week's Dynamite, they sold me on every match. And that's the one thing they did really good as a go-home show is that they featured every match that's going to be on the card this Sunday, tomorrow, and they did a really good job at doing it.
I agree 100%. And the standout to me for a match that, first of all, going into the show, even before Dynamite, I knew the match itself would be good because we've gotten it before, but I was just confused on the build-up. This Dynamite got me so into it, and that's Hangman Page and Brian Cage simply because of that promo that Hangman cut. And we've gotten the teases of Brian Cage wanting to split up from Team Taz and turn babyface, and they were about to all attack Hangman, and Hangman just looked at Brian and he said, "I expect that from Taz. I don't expect it from you." And then Brian was like, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to attack him. He said, "I'll see you Sunday."
And I like that Brian
perfect,
Cage
man.
was doing something, and we'll get more into that because I felt the same way. I felt like this. I don't know why these two were facing each other, what the angle was. Him not defending the FTW title as a hill, I'll still die on because I think that belt should be defended and used. But we'll get there when we get there. I do want to talk about a couple of WWE things before we spend the entire end half talking about the rest of Dynamite and Double or Nothing, making our predictions because it's been an interesting week. First things first, WWE's supposedly in conversation of having an exclusive relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. You made those graphics of dream matches. I want to say right now that I agree with 90% of the people that commented on my post that I would personally rather have John Cena versus Tanahashi and Randy Orton versus Okada, just because Tanahashi is like the ace of New Japan when they really needed a top guy, and John Cena was that guy for so many years in the WWE, and it just seems like it makes more like the OG sense, where Okada was the one that went against the grain, and Orton was that troublemaker in the WWE. Just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I honestly, and all on paper, I definitely agree with that 100%. The reason why I had put Cena and Okada together was simply because I just feel like when New Japan more so popped off in the United States and Canada, the guy by then was Okada. So I just figured a lot of the casual fans who don't really know much about New Japan, if they hear a name from there, they've probably heard the name Okada. And same goes for people who don't really watch WWE. They've probably heard the name Cena. But
and Randy Orton. We've heard the name Randy Orton.
And Randy Orton. That's 100%
he's one of those guys.
Randy Orton as
Randy
well.
Orton, Cena, Edge, Batista, that era, man. I would say even you could toss Mysterio in there, but he's a little bit older. That being said, before we stay on Japan, and I don't want to have a Cena debate because we know we could go all day about how I don't like Cena that much.
100%. And Daniel's not here to stop it. So,
how do you feel about the rumors that maybe potentially we get Roman Reigns versus John Cena at SummerSlam?
Business-wise, big money match makes sense. I'm with it. Thing with me is, as a Cena fan, and people who've listened to the TWC show in the past, they know how big of a John Cena fan I am. It just hurts me because I know he's going to lose. Because Roman's on a tear right now.
I don't want... It's the same way I felt about WrestleMania. Like, I didn't want Edge to win because I wanted Roman to continue doing his thing. And he is. I don't think we need Cena versus Roman. I understand that Roman is the main event regardless whatever else is on the card. But just the way things have been, I would rather have John Cena work with either Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre. If Cena put over Bobby Lashley, that would fucking mean something. If Cena put over Drew McIntyre, that would mean something. Cena's already put over Roman. It wouldn't, and I know everybody wants Cena to win that illustrious 17th world title. Not everybody. I don't. Don't get me wrong. I don't want that to happen.
I do. I do. Please do it, WWE.
I think Cena's gone on the record of saying that he doesn't even want to do that in respect to Ric Flair. Obviously, he's not the one that gets to make that decision at the end of the day anyways. But that being said, if he was to do that, I would rather it be for the WWE title than the quote-unquote universal title that's kind of, we don't know how long it's going to be here for, where the WWE title is the one with the long lineage and has been here forever. That's the only other thing, too. Like, I feel like if Cena's going to do that, it should be with the WWE Championship, not the Universal Championship that probably should be the world title. You know, that's just my take.
No, I actually agree with you there. I don't agree with you that, like, I want John to win the 17th title, but I agree with you that he should fight Bobby Lashley. And if he wins that 17th title, the world title or universal, that's not really the reason I want him to fight Bobby Lashley. It's more so because, as you said, we've gotten Cena and Roman before. To all the historians, I know we've gotten Cena and Lashley before, but that was way back. And not only that, this is a different Bobby Lashley, and I just think Monday Night Raw needs John Cena more than Friday Night SmackDown does.
Without a doubt. And I understand SmackDown's on Fox and Cena's the movie star now, and Cena overall. Like, aside from me hating on him a little bit extra because you brought my hate back out, like, I do respect the share to Cena. I know his position in the world of wrestling and in the world of entertainment, and like, he is a big name. But Raw needs it more than SmackDown. SmackDown's doing great with Roman and the Usos. This slow burning storyline with them. We got the Usos against Rey and Dominic next week. Like, they're doing fine. Bianca's finding her place. Sasha's gonna come back. Sasha's the star. Roman's a star. Seth is a star. Like, they're stacked already. We don't know where Becky's gonna come back to, but I think Cena on Raw working with Lashley or Drew would mean a lot. What I would kind of like on SmackDown, though, and this is another question, is we saw Finn lose to Karrion Kross in NXT this week. Is Finn done for NXT? Does he come back to the main roster now? Because if he does, once again, I would love him to go to Raw to work in that Bobby, Drew, top of the card, maybe Kofi position. Or do you want to see him on SmackDown and confront the head of the table? Because right now, technically, other than Jimmy Uso, the head of the table doesn't have a feud.
Well, I think the perfect way to do it, and the perfect way to do it is, it all really depends on who do we have for SummerSlam for me to decide where Finn Balor goes. Because on paper right now, if we're not having any part-timers come in, yeah, Finn Balor, Raw needs him more. But if we're going to have John Cena come back, I'd rather maybe see the SummerSlam card say John Cena versus Bobby Lashley and Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, rather
100%.
than Finn Balor versus Bobby and Cena
And
versus
we
Roman.
haven't seen, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, when Finn comes back, he's gonna be like, some people on Clubhouse and the Discord I'm in were like, he should be like in the Intercontinental title picture of the. I'm like, no, you need to bring him back and take him straight to the top. And we need this Finn. We don't need Happy Finn that turns into a demon sometimes. We need this Prince that came back to NXT. This arrogant, cocky, because we haven't technically seen the Prince, Finn Balor.
Yeah, I agree. We saw smiley guy in blue trunks. That wasn't like that wasn't the Finn Balor that we know and love. And also, it is kind of, I mean, bringing the Fiend up a little bit. So the Fiend changed him, made him go back to NXT, yada yada yada. Doesn't even have to do with the Fiend now. I don't even know why I brought him up, but going full circle, Balor's first match when he went on the main roster, he went for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam 2016, I believe. First match back on the main roster, Universal title.
I think if Finn comes back and he works with Roman for a month or whatever, I do think eventually they're going to have to do a shakeup again around October or something. So if that's the case, let him be on SmackDown for a couple of months, see how it goes, and if they want to switch him to Raw after, do it, because you'll do they need to do a shakeup eventually, because Raw's suffering right now. But back to the New Japan WWE thing. How do you feel about Tony Khan's response, calling Nick Khan a convict from Connecticut, and that he still has a U.S. champion from New Japan in his company? He just had Yuji Nagata and Rocky Romero there, and like their relationship is good, and these are just rumors. Because to be honest with you, as of right now, they could just be rumors. We're not sure.
No, yeah, 100%. And honestly, the way I feel, well, first of all, I'd like to say, like you announced me, I'm a huge AEW fan, a huge one. But
that's why I want to be on this episode for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I get a lot more excited for AEW shows than a lot of other people, but I'm also a huge WWE fan. I'm not that person that's going to be biased towards one company or shit on one company and not on the other. I like being fair to both companies, but I'm not going to lie. I like the back and forth. I find it entertaining. So Tony's response, I kind of wish it aired on Dynamite instead of being on Instagram, just because I found it to be so funny. But I want the WWE New Japan partnership. And I want that partnership because AEW's already got Impact to work with. They've already got AAA to work with. They've already got NWA to work with. I want to see WWE work with New Japan instead, because it's something we haven't seen WWE really do. Work with another major company. I don't know.
I understand they're trying to make it exclusive. I understand they're trying to make it exclusive, which is because WWE is well, if you're gonna work with anyone, you just work with us. We don't want 1 month, we have Jay White on our show, and then the next month he's on Dynamite. That's not gonna work. For people that don't understand why they're trying to do exclusiveness, that's the reason why. WWE's the WWE. They're the Disney of professional wrestling, the McDonald's, the rollerblades, the roller skates. They are the name that when you say professional wrestling, a casual fan will say, oh, you still watch WWF? They'll still say WWF. They won't even say WWE half the time. I understand them wanting to like have control of that, but that's the only reason why I think that's not going to work. And I think that's why Tony Khan was making jokes about like, oh, you've been trying to do this for 2 months. This is what I've done in the past 2 months with them already. Because as long as they're going to be begging for exclusivity, like, or if I don't know if that's a word, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think New Japan wants to be exclusive to anyone. While they do a one-off with WWE work with them, I think they would, but I don't think they want it to be exclusive. I think they want to work with AEW and other places. They already have prior relationships, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Right now, it's up in the air, and yeah, we'll see.
Just wishing the best for all companies, honestly. Like, just wishing the best for all companies, and I'd like to see New Japan work with both. I really do. I just don't feel like it's possible, you know.
No, 100%. Seth Rollins is still killing it with that drip. Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott got a wrestling match against the tag team champions Natalia and Tamina, and I'm just hoping that leads to them actually being in the title picture more because I think the Riott Squad deserves a title. Titles is long overdue. Other than that, realistically, Carmella was on SmackDown. Thank you, WWE, for putting Mella on SmackDown because she's the GOAT and I love her. I mean, she's not the GOAT.
Mella's money.
She's money.
She's money.
She's great. I'm a big fan of hers. And respect and appreciate her, guys. Go support the Bear With Us podcast on YouTube. You can now watch on YouTube now as well. It's Kurz and Corey Graves' podcast. Matt and Leah. That's their real names. It's a good show.
Like speaking, like I just want to say, speaking of Mella, I just want to throw out there. I think she'd be like the perfect person to challenge Bianca for the title next. Like I like Bayley, but I don't know why they're having a rematch because it seems like that's what they're building towards. I'd rather see Mella versus Bianca.
No, I'm with you. I don't know why we're going at it again. I get it. It's cool. I was worried with Hell in a Cell being the next pay-per-view. They're going to rush to the Sasha thing, which I think, no, hold off on it. Sasha coming back to face Bianca is kind of like a SummerSlam thing in my mind. So at this point, like, you want Bianca to be like going through the talent on the show. Go through Bayley, and if maybe Carmella's next month, but I do want to see Carmella be a serious contender for that belt. The promo she cut prior to the match this week, and just she's good. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say Mella is a Sasha Banks or a Charlotte or a Bayley or an Asuka when it comes to wrestling skills. She's not, but she's good. She's not bad by any means. She's not horrible. She's better than a lot of the divas of the past years. She can go in the ring. She can tell a story. And she's one of those few wrestlers that I always say this, that like she actually holds things off for her big matches. Like you won't see Carmella be doing a suicide dive on a random match on SmackDown like she had this week with Bianca. But you put her in a title match or a big match situation, and that's when she pulls out a suicide dive. And I love wrestlers that still appreciate moves like that. They're not just doing them every week, but they're saving them for the big moments and big matches. I like that. It's like almost like when we watch a Charlotte match, you can almost expect her to do that moonsault at the top every time that it's got played out. Carmella saves those things when it really is necessary, not every single time. And that's something that stands out to me. And I'm a fan of her in real life as a human being, so I'm always going to support her and back up in that sense as well. There's one more WWE thing I want to talk about, and I want to move on, but I can't remember what it was.
We talked about New Japan and WWE. We talked about Cena and Roman.
I think that's it. Maybe we should just talk about the fact that fans were back at Dynamite though. Like how nice was that? It was almost like a full house.
Dude, that show hit more different than like any other weekly show like of the year. My two favorites currently are SmackDown and Dynamite, but watching them back and forth, because SmackDown was a great show this week too, but it just shows you like how important it is to have fans there, because Dynamite was just a vibe this week, man. It was amazing.
It really was. It really was. But now I remember what I was going to ask you about. Or I just really, really quickly want to talk about was we got to watch 2 versions of the Ultimate Warrior documentary this week, okay? We had the A&E one and we had the Dark Side of the Ring. This is what I was thinking about and I couldn't remember. And I wanted to make sure we talked about it. I grew up as a little kid with videotapes my brother recorded of the 80s stuff, whether it's TNT, Primetime Wrestling, the WrestleManias and SummerSlams and the Rumbles. I remember watching those going up on tapes and like the Coliseum videos based on the Warrior and stuff. I always liked the Ultimate Warrior as a kid. I wouldn't ever say he was like my favorite, to be honest. Like I always lean more towards like the Macho Man and the Hart Foundation and like those kind of guys, Hogan a little bit. But I liked Warrior, but he was low on that list. I obviously, as a kid, it's hard not to like the guy with the face paint that comes right into the ring and he's just strong as hell. I don't think I ever loved the Warrior the same way a lot of people did. But I liked him, and I enjoyed these documentaries, and I think they were very honest and they were very real. I low-key think the Dark Side of the Ring would have been appreciated a lot more for what it was if the A&E one didn't come out right before it. I think with the A&E one being 2 hours and being able to go a little bit more in depth and stuff made the Dark Side of the Ring 1 hour episode seem short and like hearing a lot of the same stuff. Yeah, we had different heads talking. Like in the Dark Side of the Ring, we had Cornette and Jim Ross and Jake the Snake Roberts, and most importantly, the Ultimate Warrior's first wife. Whereas the A&E one was more people that are now like podcasters and public figures now, like Rosenbergs and Sam Roberts and stuff that watched Warrior as a kid, and then Vince and Dana Warrior and his daughters and stuff like that, which I feel like obviously are going to want to tell you a better story. But I felt like they also didn't hold back showing the Warrior being homophobic and this and that. But there was a lot more that he said and did during those later years that they didn't touch on, and then Dark Side of the Ring didn't touch on either. Where at the end of the day, it looked like both of them were trying to tell the same story of like he was a good guy and he got his shit together at the end of his life. And I don't know why we thought one of them was going to trash him more. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they were really similar. I just have to say, like, it is a little bit odd that, like, on the A&E one, and you brought this up on your show before, that, like you said, they brought out his wife, they brought out his kids, they had all these podcasters, Vince, people who are like more so gonna hype him up and talk about him more in a positive light, and rightfully so, because he's the Ultimate Warrior and those people were close with him. Why would you talk down on him?
And they still have a Warrior award. They're still tied to the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
So if that's
of course. Yeah, of course.
Thing. But then the Dark Side of the Ring was also still like pretty nice about the whole Warrior situation. They didn't give us any really new information other than he was a cheater and bad negotiator.
No, I like, and they highlighted the positives very well, but I'm just wondering because, like, obviously, and wrestlers from that era, they all had their issues because it was a different time period. But to me, and you've brought this up before, everybody's been highlighted in such a positive light, but then they gave Gorgeous George so much time on the set.
We're never going to talk about the Macho Man one is still the biggest hit job ever. I don't care. Listen, that first hour was great. That second hour, 2 people that should never have been on that thing. 2 people. Gorgeous George, which I guess, you know what, she has a little bit of a right to be on there, but that pissed me off. And the one person that had absolutely no right being on there was Bubba the Love Sponge. That's another hill I'll die on. Fuck Bubba the Love Sponge. But guys, go check out both Warrior documentaries. I would recommend, if you haven't watched them yet, maybe watch the Dark Side of the Ring one first and then the A&E one. Because I strongly believe the order that we got them is what made the Dark Side of the Ring not feel as effective as the A&E one. It's just because the A&E one is a little bit longer and more in depth. But they were both really well put together and good. I think Larry, aka a wrestling historian, said it best. He was a flawed human being, but aren't we all a little bit? Like, he was a flawed human being.
Oh, absolutely.
Was trying to get his shit together and went through some shit, and as we all have. I mean, if you listen to my interview with Jimmy Jacobs that me and Daniel did with Jimmy Jacobs a couple weeks ago, we talk about how doing podcasts and stuff kind of is stressful because in the moment you will say things you believe in that time, in that very specific moment of your life where like you don't even fucking know. Like a year later, you don't even feel that way anymore. You don't have that belief and your values have changed. And you're like,
no, I agree.
That's out there forever. Like, no.
And that's the whole.
I don't even think that way no more.
Dude, that's the problem with the whole cancel culture thing, and especially with people from like kids from my generation, because I'm 18. Dude, I've been on social media. I've been on the internet since I was like maybe 10, 11. No doubt in my mind, I've said some things that I don't agree with now before. I don't remember, but I definitely did.
There's a funny cut in the A&E one where they asked Dana Brooke like where he got his conservative like beliefs from and stuff, and they did like a zoom in on her and where she didn't say anything. And then they went to cut to a different scene. They came back to her, and she's like, "Well, he used to watch talk radio with this I forget the guy's name, but I guess he was like a really super conservative radio host." And it's just beyond all the time where like there's literally speeches out there of the Ultimate Warrior during that period being like, "It was my wife that got me to know my conservative side," and da 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 da. Like Dana was like trying to get that heat off her. It's like, I don't know. He just used to listen to a lot of talk. It's like, no. He literally said in interviews that you were the woman that showed him the light to his conservative side. And I thought that was so funny because that's what I was like, oh yeah, like I guess everybody lies a little bit. There's bullshit in all of these, I guess. Everyone's trying to tell the story with their own. And that was a really cool thing about this week is that we got two different narratives. But at the end of the day, even though we got two separate narratives and we got to hear from two separate wives, they both were like saying the same thing. He wasn't perfect, but he was good at heart. Like he had the good intentions. He just was a flawed human being who sometimes would never always thought he knew what was best and did not like to listen to other people because he thought he knew what was best. And I think that was his biggest downfall. But, you can't deny the Warrior's legacy and what he stood out to us as kids. Like I said, wasn't the biggest Warrior fan, but I had the Warrior action figure. I loved it. It was his look and his presentation and just like the adrenaline of him running to the ring and shaking the ropes and the face paint. Like I watched a whole Warrior Coliseum video on the network after. And I'm like, yeah, I remember watching this and liking it. I remember thinking this guy was cool. He wasn't my favorite.
No, he's great. Yeah,
he was cool. He was cool when I was a kid.
Like,
never
still
painted
definitely
my face
one of the
Warrior.
goats.
I painted my face like Sting, not like the Warrior, but still a Warrior fan. Talking about Sting, let's get into Double or Nothing. Let's talk about our predictions. Let's talk about what's happening tomorrow on the show. Once again, I know we briefly talked about it right before I remembered that I want to talk about the Warrior, that it was super cool to see fans back in the arena. Dude, when Dynamite started, and I saw how packed the Daily's place was and how they changed the setup and made it look feel different with the ramp kind of being on the side. There was a point even like a couple of months ago, I'm like, can they just change something in Daily's place? Because now it's just starting to look the same too much. And finally they did, and they did the ramp on the side, the fans around there. All the little details that they did for last night's Dynamite, like having the Titantron big screen on that side and then them in the ring. So anytime someone popped up there, like there was that cool visual of that big screen and that person in the ring. To hear, I can't tell you, and this is personal opinion, I don't mean to offend anybody that's on the AEW roster or on AEW Dark that is just, especially you guys on Dark that's trying to secure a job and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to offend you guys, but there was a point somewhere in the past few months where seeing the talent sing Jericho's theme started to become cringe because they started overdoing it. And I was like, that's not natural how hard these wrestlers are trying to sing Jericho's theme. It like makes me want to like cringe inside. But to see actual fans doing it again was so nice. And I know Jericho must have felt the same way because this isn't we told them to sing because you guys are on ringside. This is I walked out there and the fans are just naturally singing it. And now it's organic again. And do they know they're supposed to? Because that's like the thing. For sure. Everybody knew when Road Dogg came out and said, oh, you didn't know? Like, you sing along. But when it's the actual fans doing it and not your own talent that you're telling to do it, and it seems like they're overacting, I don't know. It just seems so much more organic and like, oh, I like it again. I like the fans singing Judas again because it started getting lame for a minute there. And it was dope. I really
you could see it on Jericho's face, man. How happy he was just to be in front of fans again.
And that everybody, like Miro, when he came, like, because I remember watching it and I was on Clubhouse and I was like, did Miro make his debut during the pandemic era or after or before? And they're like, no, during. I'm like, oh, so this is like his first proper AEW experience in front of a proper amount of fans. Because they've had fans, but like this was like a full house, proper amount of fans.
Same with Sting. This was his first time in AEW in front of fans. There's a lot of guys' first time in front of fans in AEW.
It was just it just showed, if anything, it just showed how much fans played a part. And let's be real, like I was there at All In, and the biggest factor that was missing with AEW all these months is that company is only a company because the fans were so hardcore behind it and so supportive. I remember like prior to the pandemic when they weren't even selling out arenas again and they would only have like maybe half the arena filled, which listen, you guys would be like, oh, then they're not popping off. Half of SmackDown and Raw is half the arenas filled. You don't see it. And people dirt sheets got bored of reporting it every single week. But like when they even had half the arenas full, like those fans, even if it was not a sold out crowd, were loud and proud because they wanted to support AEW so bad. Even in this Daily's Place smaller venue theater area, like the little amount of fans that were there were just so loud and proud and happy to be there. And that's what makes AEW so much. That show could have been, as far as I know, if that same show last night happened in front of no fans, I might not have felt the same way about it as I do right now. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact
100%.
there were fans there.
Yeah, 100%. And I take it like there's actually so many moments during the pandemic that like if there was fans there, it would have been insane. Like when Sting came out and Darby Allin ziplined to the ring, I still always imagine how would that have been with fans there. I hope he does it again once, just in front of
so
fans.
Many things. FTR's debut. There's so many. We're not gonna. Maybe we can do this next week. We can talk about some of the highlights of that AEW had during the pandemic era. Because I know me and Daniel talked about which wrestlers in the WWE like saved the pandemic era. I don't know about the AEW. Like I think they put. I think that you gotta thank the entire crew because they put on banger shows during this era. Yeah. But like, a lot of big moments happened. Like Brody Lee technically never wrestled in front of AEW fans. Not once. Yeah, I mean, like one time he did to an extent when they had the pockets of fans, but I mean, like he never wrestled in front of a full crowd of AEW fans. What a bummer.
Yeah.
You know. And now we're gonna get back to what the fans really think and who the fans are really booing and cheering. And I'm looking forward to when WWE gets back in front of full houses in July as well. It's gonna be sweet. But yeah, Double or Nothing, guys. I'm gonna go down the card. I'm gonna read the matches. And we'll make a prediction. And as we make the prediction, if it reminds you of something that happened on yesterday's Dynamite, then you can be like, oh, and you know what happened yesterday's made me hype for this match because yada yada yada. And that way we can talk about both things at once. So Double or Nothing, guys, tomorrow on pay-per-view. It is a stacked card. It was a card I did not care about too much going into it a little bit ago, but after last night, a little bit more hyped. On the kickoff, we're getting Serena Deeb versus Riho for the NWA Women's Championship. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say I think Serena Deeb retains. No disrespect to Riho. I actually like Riho. I got invested into Riho as she was the champion. I remember when they first put the belt on her. I'm like, why? But by the time she lost it and stuff, I was kind of like, oh, I think I kind of like Riho now. But it took some time. That I can't say the same thing about Shida, but we'll get there. But I'm going to go with Serena Deeb. I think Serena Deeb retains the championship.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see Serena Deeb retaining it too. I think this match is going to be really good because they're both really good in the ring. I don't know what it is about Riho, but like she's always just had this charisma about her, and I've always really liked her. Even before she won the title, she just stood out to me in front of all the women that they.
I go on, and I'm going to continue saying this until they maybe fix it one day. I'm not against having these Japanese women come here and wrestle at all, right? I just think AEW has done a very poor job for those that don't watch Joshi Pro Wrestling and stuff, or Stardom or whatever, just assuming we know who these women are. When WWE brings in an Asuka or a Saray or an Io Shirai or a Kairi Sane, what do? They put them on NXT. They give us video packages and stuff about who these women are on NXT. And then they give us months of them beating people at being in feuds and having matches until they actually win the championship. And by the time they go for that championship, whether you're Io, who went after it a couple times and didn't get it, and then finally did it in your house, or you're Asuka and you're on this winning streak, or you're Xia Li and you're turning into some like demonic character right now, or you're like everybody has some sort of story before they get to that belt when they come to NXT. They're not just relying on the fact that they were good wrestlers in Japan. They're good wrestlers in Japan that they brought here, and they're developing as characters that you can get invested in on their program. AEW doesn't do that. They bring the wrestlers from Japan, they bring them here, and they just assume we're going to be fucking cool with it. They put the belt on them, and then we just don't care because we don't know anything about them. I don't think I started liking Riho until she lost the belt, because during the time she was the champion, she was getting tossed around by Nyla Rose and all that stuff and fighting back. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of getting invested in her. She's like this little girl that can go, you know? They did not do the same thing with Shida. And we'll talk about that match next. I think we can both agree here that we think Britt Baker is going to beat Shida. It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Britt Baker's going to beat Shida. It's time, because if anything has been for sure this past year and a half is that Britt Baker's become a star. Nyla Rose has become a star. I want to say Thunder Rose has become a star in AEW when it comes to the women's division. Riho is a star in the women's division. They've used Serena Deeb really well. I want to say Penelope Ford, Anna Jay, Tay Conti, all that like undercard of the women's division that will eventually rise up. Eventually, For me, Shida does nothing for me. She's been the champion and she's done nothing for me. She's had matches on pay-per-views that I don't even remember. She's probably wrestled Britt and Thunder Rosa guys, but I don't remember because she's such a forgettable champion. I don't know her character. She's a lady that comes out there with a kendo stick. No disrespect to Shida, but even during her championship reign, they've done nothing for me to like get invested in her. And I know she wanted to be a champion in front of fans, and she got to do that last night, and she's going to get to do it tomorrow, but she's losing the belt now. And hopefully after she loses the belt, they can put Shida in some sort of feud against somebody to make us actually care about Shida. So next time she comes up to the title, I'm actually like, you know what? I'm down with Shida to win again. Because as of right now, I don't care to see Shida with that belt ever again. And this reign was the worst women's title reign in AEW's short history. Because it sucked. I don't know who the hell she was. Tell me to name 5 Shida matches she had on pay-per-view. I just remember the one that she had against the other Japanese girl that looked like Okada because we made jokes about it. Otherwise, I don't remember. I don't. And no disrespect to Shida. Someone's like, her character is that she's a really good wrestler. It's not a fucking character.
I do agree with that. It's not a character.
Being a really good wrestler is not a character. It's not.
Okay, for the pioneers who first did it, yes. Like the guys like Bret Hart, for example. Like, yeah. But now in 2021, that's not.
He was the hitman. He was the excellence of execution. He could out.
That's true.
You.
Yeah, that's
true. That he could out wrestle you. He came from the dungeon.
Oh no,
Bret Hart. He was a hitman. He would target a spot and he'd hit it. And he was the ultimate good guy when he was a good guy. That's a character there.
I love Bret Hart, man. You're right, man. But
Shida wasn't a fight. Was she a fighting champion? I don't know.
Like for me, I don't necessarily have a problem with her. I do think it's time for her to drop the title. I would have rather Britt Baker won it. Like I don't think she needed to go a year with the title. I didn't have a problem with her being champion, but I don't think she needed to go a year.
I'm always down to have a feud that doesn't need the belt to be a really good feud. I'm not saying that, and I think all divisions should have separate feuds that aren't for the championship to be really good feuds. But I will say it's a shame that Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker in the Lights Out match wasn't for the championship. Just a shame, because that could have been one of their greatest championship matches in their women's division. But it wasn't. It was just a grudge match between two people that were feuding with each other, and they had a really good match. It's kind of a shame.
Well, I'm actually super excited.
What was Shida doing then? No idea. Don't have a clue. Don't remember.
Listen, I'm just so excited because when Britt Baker does win that title, Thunder Rosa is coming after her, and we're gonna get the rematch, and that's gonna be amazing.
And this is just my philosophy. I think just as a wrestling fan and as an older wrestling fan, and I think I started realizing it when I was on Clubhouse having this conversation because I feel like I hated Becky's reign. I fucking hated every time Cena was champion. And like I think with me personally is I hate the whole babyface having long reigns. I think I get bored.
Yeah, you've explained this to me. You like it when they chase the title.
Even when AJ Styles had a long reign after beating Jinder. I'm a huge AJ Styles fan. At no point did I hate AJ Styles, but I did get bored when he beat Shinsuke, when he beat Joe. I started getting bored. I'm like, this guy's just beating everybody. This isn't fun. It's different. No,
I get that.
It's different when you're a heel and you keep beating people because most of the time you're either beating them, you might beat them clean, or you might cheat. But somehow you keep sneaking away at this title and you want to see the heel lose, like it's getting to you. But when you're the babyface and you keep winning, like what's the drama there? Like, oh, he's just gonna win again?
No, I actually do. It makes sense, and you do make a good. I don't know what it is for me. Like I can't even point it out. I just don't mind it when babyfaces have long reigns as long as they do something entertaining with them. But like, I will agree. The chase is more fun. I do agree with that.
I'm already on I'm already on the like. Bianca needs to beat Bayley. Bianca needs to beat Carmella. Bianca needs to beat one other person, and then when Sasha comes back, Sasha needs to beat Bianca, and then they need to have a rubber match. But like Sasha needs to beat Bianca in the rematch, so they can have a rubber match at Survivor Series or something. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, I am like, if she just continues to win, it's gonna get boring. Like, you need some drama. You need her to go through some sort of like, if Batman just kept beating everyone and no one else fucked up anything, then what's the point? Like,
No, I do want to see Banks and Belair go at it again because to me, I just feel like they have that Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar type chemistry where they can just go back and forth and trade victories and
You're
still pull
agreeing
out a
that
great match
Bianca's
every
kind of like
time.
a powerhouse. Bianca's kind of like a powerhouse, like Brock, and
Oh yeah, she's a powerhouse.
Sasha the wrestler's
100%.
wrestler. But, let's get back
Very
to AEW.
charismatic too.
Let's get back to AEW.
Yeah. Before.
I want Britt to win the belt, and I want Britt to have a lengthy reign, and I want it to be one of those situations where she keeps cheating to win, and Rebel's helping her and shit, and she's just acting like she's been winning clean the entire time, like a delusional heel. Like, no, I'm just that good. You see what I did? Like, no, you cheated, but like ignore it. Like, I want that Britt. I think it'll be funny. And then you know what happens with a good heel champion? The person that beats them is just so over because it's like you're so happy they lost, and that's why heel reigns. I just feel like, if you're gonna have a long reign, like you need to mix it up. If you're a babyface, you're gonna have a long reign. That's why I think Punk's reign worked so well in 2012 and 13 because midway through he decided to turn heel. Like if you're gonna do something like that, then yeah, you can have a lengthy reign because you mixed it up in the middle. But if you're gonna have a long reign and you're gonna be the babyface the entire time, personally, in my opinion, I get bored. I don't know, maybe I'm a bad guy, but I just don't like seeing the good guy overcome the odds over and over again when the odds don't even seem that stacked on him no more. Because you're like, well, he wins all the time or she wins all the time. What's the chances that she's going to lose? When it starts becoming like that, then it's like, it's not really a story you tell me because I already assumed they're going to win. Like you know?
No, that makes sense. I just, for me,
that was my Cena problem. I just always assumed he was going to win. They could be like, oh, he's facing Great Khali. I'm like, oh, he's going to win. It's John Cena. Like, it's predictable. Like, you know, like
no, and I get that, but I feel like when you're making a face of the company, it's just like the easiest way to cement them, like as the top baby face of the company, like even if it's just one long reign, even because it's almost like
it worked in the 80s. It's very old school. Because that's when people still thought wrestling was real.
I like it.
That's when people thought wrestling was real. Now
that's
we know
what
it's
I'm
like
saying. But
they pick the winners. They pick the winners and shit. Like.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, like that's how it's still supposed to be. Like, yeah, we all know the outcomes are predetermined now, but it should still be that way. Like if I was running a company, I'd probably have like longer reigns because I just see that's how it draws in MMA and boxing. And if you want that casual fan base, you have to be a little bit more realistic with it, you know?
So how are we feeling about Miro versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship?
I think it'll be a good match. It makes sense because Lance Archer, like, I kind of feel like he might actually win because they're doing this whole thing where, like, oh, last year I could have won it at Double or Nothing. Now I lost. I just feel like I would have rather had Darby versus Miro in a rematch. But I'm still sure these guys will have a good match.
So this is still the match out of all the stuff they sold us on yesterday on Dynamite. This is still the match where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it, but it's mainly because I don't know how to feel about Lance Archer. Like, is he a good guy now? And if that's the case, he's still with Jake, which I don't know. Jake being a babyface's manager just doesn't seem right to me. And then also, like, you would think if he was sitting there like, okay, we need to do something to Lance Archer to make him feel important. But not at the same time, it's like, we're finally booking Miro the way that we should have been booking Miro since day one. You don't want to ruin that either. Prediction-wise, I'm going to say Miro retains. I don't know where it goes from here. Like, yeah, last night's Lance Archer promo was good. Miro with the squash match was dope. Like, he killed that guy. Like, all of that was good. I still, like, this will be a hard-hitting, strong-style match. Two big guys going at it. I don't know how I feel about it. How about you? Who do you got?
Yeah, like honestly, like on paper, it just seems like it's gonna be Miro, but I'm just gonna be different and go on a limb and just predict Lance Archer just because he lost last year at Double or Nothing. I don't think he should win. I'm just gonna do something a little bit different and predict him because there's just something. I just feel like he's going.
There we go. Now this could be the match that makes or breaks who wins here between our predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this though. I don't think the way I look at this match now, because just the way the build has been so far, is that I think this is more of a how do I want to put it? The first match of a feud that's going to continue. I don't think this is like the blow off or one off. Like I think this is going to continue, and I think Miro wins, and maybe Lance Archer might win it down the road. but just not yet. Like, that's the way I see it. We talked about this one a little bit earlier, but we'll talk about it again right now. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Once again, a match I thought they kind of threw together. Don't know if Hangman's still hanging out the Dark Order, if they're going to come back him up with Team Taz, if that becomes an issue. Didn't know. I felt like they pulled this match out of thin air personally. But like you said, last night's promo from Hangman, creating the whole animosity of like, Brian Cage, I thought you're better than Team Taz. I didn't expect this from you. Like, creating that animosity between Team Taz and making that the angle kind of made me go like, oh, okay. Now I'm intrigued to see what happens with this Brian Cage character. But that being said, I think Hangman still goes over. Because I think they're still trying to, like, I know we've seen Hangman pick up, I think, one loss in the past, like, couple of months. I think.
He lost to Brian Cage. Yeah, that's what he lost to.
That makes sense.
That's how this whole feud started. Yeah.
There we go.
Hangman was on top of the rankings, and then Brian Cage knocked him off.
So I'm not about 50-50 booking, but I think Hangman gets his win back. But I think it's because of some sort of mix-up with Team Taz causing Brian to lose, further causing a rift between the members of Team Taz. But I think Hangman needs to keep that momentum because I still do think, like, if this was Hangman versus Omega on this card, I feel like there's more of a story they could have told there, but I think they're still holding off on that for maybe All Out or something. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Hangman because I think he's heading towards going after Kenny eventually.
Oh, 100%. And I have to agree. I'm going with Hangman Page. I just want to say that promo, man, and I feel like him getting busted open in his match with Janela added more to the promo just because he was so bloody while saying it. It was so dope. It just added that gritty like type of vibe to it. And honestly, the way I see this match going, I see Brian Cage wants to get the clean victory, and someone from Team Taz attempts to help him win. He's like, nah, get out of here. And then that costs him the match because Hangman takes advantage. But yeah, I got Hangman going over.
I'm with Hangman as well. We got the Casino Battle Royal with the future AEW World Championship title match on the line. People in the Battle Royal like Christian Cage, Matt Sydal, Powerhouse Hobbs, Penta, Jungle Boy, Matt Hardy, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, The Blade, Evil Uno, Colt Cabana, Preston 10 Vance, Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman Jr., Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, Dustin Rhodes, Lee Johnson, and a surprise entrant, the wild card that we don't know who it's going to be. So 2 questions here. Who do you think's going to win and who might be the wild card?
The wild card. All right, first of all, I think Christian Cage is going to win.
Same.
They did the Dynamite after the Dynamite after Revolution, they teased Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega. So I know they're going to fight down the line. So I'm just thinking like who could the wild card be, especially with like all the releases that occurred. But at the same time, a lot of these people got 90-day no compete clauses. My heart wants to say Daniel Bryan because that'd just be so cool, and Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega would just be so good. But I'm just gonna predict it's Andrade, to be honest.
I think it's Andrade.
He's
the only one that doesn't have like a 90-day non-complete clause. I feel like he's facing Omega in a bit, so you kind of want to get him on television. I don't think he's going to stick around with AEW, but I think it would be cool for him to be in there. The only other person I can think of, and on that note, like I know I said it before, but I do think Christian Cage is going to win. But on that note, like I do think like they have the relationship with Impact. Like maybe it could be like Moose or someone making a one-off appearance. I don't know, but I'm intrigued to see who it is. I've learned not to get my expectations too high with AEW because they do give us surprises. But if you recall when they said a future Hall of Famer is coming and everyone started like predicting the craziest people and ended up being Christian, I'm like, Christian's dope, but you guys all had your expectations way too high, and that's your own fault. Don't think it's
that's their own fault.
Yeah, that's your own fault. So I'm not getting my predictions. I'm not getting my expectations way too high. That's going to be, especially if I don't think the wild card person is going to win the Battle Royal. I don't think it's going to be anyone major. I'm going to go with Christian.
It'll be Andrade, I feel like.
Either Andrade, Moose, I don't know, maybe it'll be Zack Ryder again. It'll just be some
maybe Rich Swann. Maybe Rich Swann wants to get revenge.
I don't know, maybe someone from Japan's just hanging out, and maybe from someone from New Japan Strong. I don't know. Maybe it's Rocky Romero. I don't know. We'll find out, though.
Maybe it's Okada accompanied by Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Forbidden Door.
I've been looking forward to see this, but I do think Christian's going to win. And as far as Daniel Bryan goes, I didn't mention this before, but I do feel like him not signing back with the WWE yet may be part of the reason why they're trying to work a deal with New Japan, because I feel like Bryan probably is like, I really want to go with Japan. And I think that's part of like
100%.
Nick Khan, like, how the hell can we work with Japan? Because Bryan really wants to go work there. But if we're going to work with them, it needs to be exclusive. We can't have Bryan working on a card in Japan that Kenny Omega's on, and it's just like this awkward, like, what? You know? So, yeah.
But that'd be so cool. It's so fun, too. Oh, man.
Never say never, though. Like, we had Jericho on the Austin pod,
That's
so,
true.
like, never say never.
Yeah, that is true.
Sting and Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. I don't know. I like Sting. Obviously, he's one of my favorites since a little kid. He's in my top 10 of all-time favorites because I was a little Stinger. I really fuck with Darby. His reign with TNT title is getting kind of blah, but then he lost it, so like good. But I really do fuck with Darby. I like Darby a lot. I like Ethan Page. I like Scorpio Sky. I don't know why they're a tag team. I get it. I get why, because they needed something for both of us to do, and if they weren't going to pop off in the mid card as singles, might as well put them as a team. But I just feel like cool. So obviously there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe Ethan Page and Scorpio need this win, right? But then there's that other part of me that's like, I don't want to see Sting and Darby lose. So I don't know. So you know what? I'm gonna let you predict first.
I'm going with Darby Allin and Sting. This is Sting's first performance in front of fans. Got to keep that in mind. Darby just lost the TNT title. I think a win would do him well. And, you know, I'm a huge Darby Allin fan. I'm a huge Sting fan too, but like if we're talking about like current full-time wrestlers, huge Darby Allin fan. I think he's a big factor in the future of AEW. Future world champion, hopefully. I'm going with Sting and Darby here. I like Scorpio Sky, I like Ethan Page, but I just think Sting and Darby should take this one.
This is Sting's first match, like legitimately fully in the ring, not cinematic, in front of fans. And it's against Ethan Page and Scorpio. No disrespect, but against Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. I like Ethan. I like Scorpio. I saw the potential in Scorpio. I thought he could have been like one of the top guys in that company off the get-go. I'm getting to know who Ethan Page is. I got to interview him. He's a really dope dude and shit. Him being a tag team doesn't do him any favors of standing out as like a character, as a solo act. But yeah, I guess I got to go Sting and Darby too. I feel there's something in my gut that says they're going to let Ethan Page and Scorpio win because like the future and shit. But like to the fact that it's being Sting's first match back in the ring, in front of fans, since his match with Seth Rollins, I feel like Sting and Darby need to win this. And I always said that, I'm like, if they're going to use Sting,
you know what a nice...
he's the best person to protect in a tag match because then he doesn't have to do all the work. But what were you going to say?
You know what a nice all-out match would be, or just any future pay-per-view down the line? Sting and Darby versus the Brotherhood, Cody and Dustin.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think that would be really cool.
Speaking of the American Nightmare, we got Cody Rhodes versus Anthony. Hey, listen, I really enjoyed that weigh-in yesterday. It was simple. It was
same,
effective.
right? It was good.
One flaw. Just one flaw. Okay? I like Cody coming out with all the people. I like Anthony having his people. Cody talked all that shit in that promo on Dynamite last week that's very polarizing and tone deaf to a lot of people. I know Anthony Ogogo responded on Elevated or whatever it's called, Elevation or Dark, one of those shows. Couldn't he have responded to it a little bit last night? Couldn't he have said something like to his promo? I feel like he didn't say anything about that promo. And he should have. That's the only little attention to detail tidbit that bothered me, is that he never really had a rebuttal. But the weigh-in was really cool.
No, 100%.
It went really well.
The weigh-in was real. I like shit like that, man. It's just like reality-based, and it feels more intense. I love it. And I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan. I got Cody Rhodes winning. It's a tough one to predict, though, because Anthony Ogogo is big. And I do like Anthony Ogogo because I got sold on him last Dynamite when he was facing Austin Gunn, and it was just like that bloody mess. I thought he looked like a badass there, but I'm just too big of a Cody fan. Got to go with Cody.
I just feel like, so I want to predict Cody because I'm like, you turn this into America versus the foreign country feud, which like if America loses, what the, and you're using your dad's name. So I'm going to predict Cody, but I really want Anthony Ogogo to win. Like, I will not be disappointed.
I wouldn't be mad if Anthony
won. I don't even know much about Anthony. I've seen him wrestle like 2 times. And it's not even like a fuck Cody thing, because I think Cody made a mistake in that promo. I don't hate Cody. I've explained it to people. I'm like, I think it was more of like, he didn't talk. I know he went on his little conference call and said he talked to a focus group, and he sent his promo to legends and stuff who said it was okay. I know I talked my shit last week saying that he needs to run this shit by people so someone could tell him that some of that shit probably shouldn't have been said last week. But like, I like Cody. I'll always be a Cody fan. I respect the shit out of Cody, and I think that was just a little bit of a slip up that nobody gave him the, hey, maybe you shouldn't say that, because we all think we're saying things sometimes that we think sounds right in our head, and then we say it out loud and we're like, oh shit, probably shouldn't have said that. But when you see it from a different perspective. But I feel like if we're trying to build a new star here, which technically that's what this feud is, I feel like Anthony Ogogo should just, if you want to build a new star, like, Anthony Ogogo can go from here to go face Miro, and it'll be believable because he beat Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm happy either way. I'm a big Cody fan, so if Cody takes the win, I'm happy to see Cody take another win. But this Anthony Ogogo guy, I'm a fan. He looks sick. He's got the look. He's got the legitimate background in boxing. He's an Olympic athlete. I think he's sick too, so I'm happy nonetheless.
Fair enough. I feel the same way, but I do think it's just because the whole American Dream name use and the American versus UK thing, it's going to be Cody. But even if it's
wish
he could use the theme.
Yeah. Yes, so bad, dude. I wish they had the rights.
Dream. I mean, they could have someone come out there and just sing that part, and it could be
He's
legal.
Just a common man.
The Bucks of Youth defending the tag team titles against Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I will say this. I'm wearing a Young Bucks shirt right now for those of you watching on Patreon. But I will say this. Obviously, I like the Young Bucks. I love everything they're doing right now. I love this whole cocky, arrogant, dangly air, Shawn Michaels circa 1990s Young Bucks. But I kind of want to see Moxley and Kingston with the tag belts. So I might be 110% wrong about this, because people have argued with me that, well, if the Bucks are doing this whole elite angle with Kenny, like, they obviously got to keep the belts, because otherwise they can't be that cocky without the belts, this and that. And I'm like, no, they technically can be cocky without the belts. They don't necessarily need them. But that's just my perspective. And I think Kingston and Moxley winning those belts and running with them for a bit, facing off against all the great tag teams they have in the tag team division, giving opportunities to wrestle the Butcher and the Blade and Santana and Ortiz until they get to an FTR who probably beats them. I want Kingston and Moxley to win the belts. I do. I'm gonna say it. That's my prediction. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably like I like, my gut is telling me I'm fucking wrong, but I'm gonna go with Moxley and Kingston. I love the Bucks.
You know what's funny?
What they're doing without the belts, in my opinion.
You know what's funny is that I feel the exact same way. I'm gonna be honest. I know my prediction's wrong, but I predict Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I can't go against my boy Moxley, first of all. And second of all, they're just such an entertaining combo. Like, sometimes they're the best part of Dynamite.
Have them together, like, give them the belts and bring the belts to the tag division, because no disrespect to the Bucks, because I get what they're doing. And yes, they have had banger tag team matches against the Varsity Blondes, and I think they fought Santana and Ortiz one week. Like, they've had good tag team matches, but it's just like they're not going to lose. Whereas if Moxley and Kingston have those belts and they're facing other tag teams, there's always going to be that thing like, well, they're not in some sort of situation where they can't lose these belts. They can, and it'll be okay, because they'll just make a funny promo about it the week after. But like, oh shit, we got, like.
Yeah.
The Bucks technically can't lose when they're in these matches, and I just don't think they need them. And I get what people are like, well, Kenny has a world title, the Bucks, like, they need. I'm like, no, they don't. Like, I don't know, and I don't even know where the Bucks go, whether they win or lose this match. Like, who do they feud with? I don't know. But if Moxley and Kingston win this, they can finally move away from feuding with Omega guys for a bit and be like, well, we're the tag champs. Maybe we should focus on this tag division now. Like, they have a scapegoat to get out of this feuding with the Elite if they want,
Yeah, and I'd love to see like Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley versus the Lucha Bros versus the Varsity Blondes. Like, there's so many matches that could come out of this. Top Flight, FTR, Santana and Ortiz. My God.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, in the long run, I'd want FTR to take the belts off them. That's my long run plan. But if I was the booker there. But I just them with the belts. I don't know. I just think I don't know. And I'm not even trying to be like a dick here. Like there's obviously an chance that he might one day win the TNT title. If they ever defended the FTW title, I definitely would see Eddie Kingston win the FTW title. But this might be the only title Eddie Kingston ever holds the company. So it might be.
I want to see him with the world title one day. He's sick. I'd
I don't
love
know
to
if
see
that's
it.
really gonna happen. I don't know. I don't know if I want to see that.
I'm not necessarily saying I think it'll happen. I'm just saying I want it to happen.
We got I guess we're pretty much here. We got Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy versus Pac for the 3-way for the AEW World Championship. I was not excited for this match at all. Math. I was talking like I'm Dusty Rhodes now. I was not excited for the match at all. But I don't know. I felt like Kenny's been a good champion, obviously, and he deserved a big match feel for this show. And him versus Pac, because of their history, I thought would have been a big match feel. But when they started teasing it being Kenny versus Orange Cassidy, it's kind of like, no, why are you booking a joke match or a match that could for sure headline a Dynamite, but probably shouldn't headline one of the 4 pay-per-views you have a year? Come on. You could even highlight one of your headline one of your secondary big shows like Fyter Fest or Bash at the Beach, but for one of your 4 pay-per-views, I don't know if you should do Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy. But then they made it a triple threat, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I guess they can't say triple threat; they have to say 3-way. Something about that. I don't know who told me that a week ago, but Neeson told me that. But obviously, I think Omega's retaining.
Yeah. I agree. I predict Omega to retain. Him and Pac are going to do a lot of great stuff. Orange Cassidy is going to be very good and entertaining. I have to say, for everybody listening, don't murder me. I'm not saying Orange Cassidy should be AEW World Champion, but with the sinister shades and the jeans this past Dynamite, he looked pretty sick. You can't lie. With the gold title, holding it up, it looked cool.
They got me excited for the match yesterday. Pac's promo. I say Pac, guys. I just kind of say Pac so I can appease you people, but I'm gonna keep saying Pac. I think Pac's promo was dope. I think Orange Cassidy's run in and that was all dope. They did a good job getting me hyped for it. Do I still think the match is kind of underwhelming? For sure. I think it is really booked in last 3-4 weeks. It doesn't seem like something that was building up all this time. I do think Omega retains. I do think all of them will give us a great match that we're going to remember for sure. I don't know if I ever want to see Orange Cassidy with that big belt. I 100%.
Oh, I'm not saying I want him to win. I'm just saying he looks cool with it. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is he looks cool.
I definitely see Orange Cassidy being a TNT champion for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. I see that happening.
I'd be fine with that.
I don't know if I want to see him as AEW World Champion. I don't know if that's the move to make. I think with that title, they need to keep it as prestigious as they can for as long as they can. And if you look at the reign now, it's literally just been Jericho, Moxley, Omega. Let's just, keep that rolling with them.
Those are 3 big names.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you're going to put on someone that's newer and younger, that's not fully established, obviously they can throw it on who's there, a Christian or other people that are established, no problem. But if you're going to throw it on someone that's not that established, it has to be one of your talent that you built from the bottom up, whether it's a Darby or a Sammy or an MJF or a Jungle. It needs to be one of those. And Anthony Ogogo if he wins, someone that you guys built together.
Oh, he's a future world champion.
Orange Cassidy is one of those guys that came in as a comedy act from the independents that we all love and adore. It had a great feud with Chris Jericho that kind of made him a little bit more serious threat and whatnot. Had great matches with Brody for the TNT title, and even I think he wrestled Cody for the TNT title once. But I don't know if I see him as the guy that wins the big one. And maybe that's the story that we get.
Oh yeah, no,
maybe that's the story we get, that Orange Cassidy
maybe
this entire time but never won the big one. Who knows? But
here's the deal: characters evolve, right? Characters evolve over time, and I could see him evolving one day, and maybe he wins it. I just think with the current character he has, he can't win it. And by the way, guys, I met Orange Cassidy at an indie show. He gave me advice because I want to wrestle. Super humble, great guy. I want to see him succeed. I just think if he ever wants to win the world title, change the character a little bit, make it more serious, But
last but not least, Stadium Stampede. I loved the way the show went off the air this week, kind of giving us a little bit of the taste of what the Stadium Stampede could be like. I was concerned because you're going to have fans back. Are they just going to be watching the screen the entire time for this match? I can go ahead and say they are going to, because the Stadium Stampede match has already been filmed, BTW. I don't know if they actually brought fans in for the filming, but it's been filmed. It's been taped already. I don't know if it can live up to the first one, just due to the fact that a lot of the first one is based off of the characters that we've gotten to know over BTE when it comes to the elite side. And the Inner Circle characters are characters, but I think it will. I'm not getting my expectations too high. But now it comes down to the prediction. And the thing that weighs down on whatever we predict right now is that if the Inner Circle loses, they have to disband. I saw hints of Sammy Guevara being like, hey, guys, when I quit the Inner Circle and I told you what was messed up, none of you guys backed me up, and that kind of hurt me, but I hope that doesn't happen again. I saw hints of Sammy kind of being like the one that might fucking screw the Inner Circle at the end of this match, because he felt like they didn't believe him when he said that. And I think what that does is leaves an opening for a future Sammy Jericho feud. If Jericho takes time off when he comes back, or if right after this pay-per-view, we can go into a Sammy Jericho feud, because that's what I think. Now, to a lot of people's credit, they say the Inner Circle can't break up yet. They shouldn't break up yet. What are they going to do if they do break up? There's still so many matches with the Pinnacle that they could have, whether they're tag matches and single matches. Like, we never got a Sammy MJF match, or a Jericho and Shawn Spears match. Like, there's so many combination of matches between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle that we never got, so it doesn't make sense for them to break up yet. And I understand that argument too, because that's true. We haven't even got a proper Santana Ortiz versus FTR match. Like, I've said it before millions of times. I thought this should have came before the Blood and Guts, but now it's after. So I'm gonna let you go first with everything I just gave you, all that information I just threw at you. Is the Inner Circle breaking up? And last night's whole,
and this is so hard for me.
Celebration, and my boy Eric Bischoff coming out there to be there for the celebration. Like, it was all so cool. Do they break up?
Oh, here's the deal. Like, I don't want to. Ever since the first Full Gear, when Cody said, if I lose this match, I'm never challenging for the title, I predicted right when he said that, oh, Cody's going to win. There's no way he's going to do it. So after he lost that match, I told myself, I'm not letting my prediction fall onto a stipulation anymore. So, and this one's tough for me too, because I really love the Pinnacle and I really want to see them on top of AEW, but I love the Inner Circle too. And if Inner Circle loses, they're done. Pinnacle's won Blood and Guts. I'm saying Inner Circle wins this, and then they have a rubber match.
I'm going to go the same way. I think there's too much left on the table between these two groups for the groups to break up already. I think the Inner Circle, we haven't even, other than the match when they were both in the Inner Circle, we haven't even got a proper singles MJF Jericho match. I feel like that's a thing that needs to happen. I think there needs to be a whole show with Inner Circle versus Pinnacle and breaking down the matches.
I was actually about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the only reason why. Because at first I'm like, no, this is a good time for the Inner Circle to break up, and I can see Sammy. I do think at the end of this all, I still think Sammy, Santana, and Ortiz split and do their own thing. And they do break up, but I think there needs to be, this angle needs to run a little bit longer. And I think the stipulation is to do exactly what it's doing to us right now, kind of throw us on a little bit of confusion of what could happen? Because yada yada. But I think the show ends with the Inner Circle standing tall and the Pinnacle still coming back for retribution now, because now we're 1-1. And we're supposed to be the greatest stable ever.
I love the fun.
This is the road.
Love the
do not get it mistaken. This is the road to the end of the Inner Circle. That is how this all ends, probably by the end of the summer.
Oh, that hurts though, man. That hurt, but it's got to happen eventually, right? And man, I love the unpredictability unpredictability, man. I love it. It makes it so much more fun.
That is our predictions for Double or Nothing. We're over an hour, and we got to wrap this up. Appreciate you guys tuning in, guys. You guys know where to find me, The Wrestling Classic. Link in my bio for the Patreon. My articles at 1:37 p.m. Make sure you subscribe to the TWC Show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Even if you're watching this or listening to this on Patreon, please subscribe. Just, to help a brother out. We're almost at episode 100. I'm going to get Devin on here for episode 100. We're going to get the original band back together for episode 100. And make sure you guys go support Vikram at Wrestling with Awareness on YouTube, Wrestling with Awareness on Instagram, and Vikram_Prashar on Instagram. He's an aspiring wrestler in training. So support him while he's setting his goals and reaching his dreams. And I hope you guys all keep doing the thing. Do you have anything you want to add, Vic?
We need Sock Money Mike back on the TWC show.
We'll get him back on here.
That's all I have to add.
And ooh, yeah, dig it. John Cena sucks. John Cena sucks.
Not true.
John
Cena's
Cena.
the